Hi there, Rick here. I want to talk about roofing. Um, I used to do a little bit of roofing, not a whole lot, okay? But like a normal size roof with, not being too steep, okay? I felt that, well, I could probably do it, okay? Um, by myself. I've seen other bigger roofing companies around the city. Um, I don't know why, but um, I think this was a metal roof. Um, they done a metal roof for a customer, and well, it was still leaking. And I think the customer paid quite a bit for it. Okay, they spent about $40,000 for it, and the lady was quite mad. Okay, because it was leaking. Okay, I don't know why it was leaking. Okay, I watched the YouTube video of the guy doing the repair. Okay, but you have to remember, why didn't the original installers, why couldn't they have, you know, uh, done what that guy was doing, okay? The repair work that he was doing on it. Um, I've also heard too of, some of these big companies, they were subcontracting the work out to other contractors. You have to remember that's really unusual because, if they're a big company, okay, or a medium-sized company, okay, normally they would have their own crews, okay, um, but I don't know. I find it really unusual that they would be subcontracting the work out. Maybe they just can't, find good workers in the industry. But you have to remember, this is the city. Um, well, there should be, well, lots of really good roofers, right? But maybe a lot of them are too old right now, and well, they're retired, or um, the ones that have been doing it for quite a few years. Okay, um, they they're retiring, and they don't have people replacing them. Okay, oh, it's hard work. Because you have to remember, whatever temperature is on the ground, it's always 10 degrees hotter on the roof. Okay, and if you don't pay the workers, that are good at this sort of work in the industry a decent wage, okay, they will not do the work. Okay, I remember when, well, I had already had 2 years experience working full time as a vinyl window installer, okay, and installing the patio doors. When I went to go work for, you know, uh, well, a medium-sized vinyl window company, they were sending me out to help some of the installers, okay? And, they were only, paying me minimum wage, right? And, I wasn't going to do it for minimum wage, okay? So, we got into a dispute, and, after, 4 months, uh, well, uh, I left the company, and about 9 months later, they asked me to come back. Um, the reason why they asked me to come back too was because I heard that 5 of the workers in the warehouse, I think it was 6 actually, and all these guys were men, okay, and we had some women working in the warehouse too, okay, but they were in a car accident, okay, not a bad one, okay. I think one guy had some bruised ribs. That was the worst of it, okay. Anyways, they were off for like 8, 9 months, okay. Just um, you know um, an amazing amount of time to be off um, for a minor accident, okay. So they didn't have a service guy, okay, and I was doing some of the service calls for them. Um, so Peter was begging me to come back to work for the company. Okay, I didn't know that um, they lost their service guy for like 8 or 9 months, and you know you have to remember, you lose what, 5 guys in the warehouse, okay? That's a real drop in production in your warehouse, okay? Because now, you're 5 workers short, right? So he was begging me to come back, and when I finally, decided to come back, is paying me a lot more, okay, per hour. Um, Doing some of the service calls, and some of the customers were, well, kind of angry at me, saying, where the hell were you? We're waiting for you for like 5-6 months. And I said, I don't know. I just started working for this company just a little while ago, right? And then some other people were saying, that's an awful long vacation you took. And I would say to them, what? I would say, what? And he goes, well, the manager said that you were on vacation. I said, no, I wasn't on vacation. I just told him the truth. I said the old service guy was in a car accident. He was, been off work for a long time. But the manager told him that he went on vacation. And there was other stories too that the manager was saying. It was kind of hilarious in a way. Him telling all these different people of, where the salesman was or what had happened, right? And I think a lot of times he had even forgotten what he said to all these different individual customers too. But yeah, I cleaned up a lot of the service calls for them, because you have to remember too, sometimes they were getting the installer to do some of the service calls, and of course the installer was, billing them a lot of money, right? Because they're not going to do it for free, and they have to drive out there, spend their time working on it. It all takes quite a bit of time to do. Build the office quite high for the service call, because it takes them quite a bit of time to do it. And well, I think they also knew too that the office didn't have a service guy too, so they were they would build them quite high. The roofing, it's hard work, okay? And a lot of guys, wow, they don't want to do roofing too, okay? Some guys would carry it up by ladder, okay, on their shoulder. Other people would sometimes, well, they would just get the crane to deliver it, and they would put all the material on the roof, okay? That's the ideal way to do it. Some things are wrong that I see with putting all the material on the roof, okay? Sometimes it's a lot of weight, okay? And you put up all that weight on the roof. I sometimes worried that it'll cave in the roof, because you have to remember some of the framers a long time ago, maybe they didn't use enough nails to to put these the 2x4 frames together, right? And once we get all the material on the roof, it collapses the roof or something, right? A lot of people still have that, the T-lock shingles. Those are the old style. Now, sometimes I would see some of the workers roofing, okay, especially on a tricky roof or a steep roof. I would stop and watch them a bit, because I found it interesting watching them do their work, okay? Just because it was a steep roof, and it was, well, it was tricky work too, right? I was always glad that, okay, I was doing the vinyl windows and patio doors, and that was well, that was easier, well, I felt, than roofing, okay? So I know how to put the flashing around the the chimneys. Okay, I even know how to repoint the chimney, and yeah, I know how to make minor repairs on a chimney. I know how to put uh, the caps on the chimneys as well. Um, I learned it from a masonry guy. Okay, I know how to take down these chimneys. Um, it is uh, it is interesting work. Okay, didn't take me long to pick up the skill. Okay, um, you know, I was probably doing about, I don't know, 90% of the work. Um, the guy I was working for about, I don't know, 3 weeks of work. Okay, um, you know, he said he was going to pay me, but he didn't pay me. Okay, I thought that was pretty dirty of him to do. Okay, well, you actually give the our industry a bad name. Okay, because guys hear of other guys doing this, okay, to their workers, and then nobody trusts one another in the industry. Okay, they either want to be paid that day, or they just won't work for you. Okay, you know, it's just bad. Okay, because like I say, I remember. Okay, this is a little bit off topic, but you know, there was a major earthquake in China. Okay, and I think they collected something like 10 billion yuan. You know, people had donated a lot of money for the victims. Okay, and I heard that a lot of this money was embezzled. Okay, and so now that, you know, China is having a major disaster right now. Okay, everything from tornado to major floods. Um, the major flood is probably one of the main ones. They're comparing it to uh, well, a major earthquake they had in China before, where it killed about 100,000 people. This flood, they estimate, was just as bad and probably even worse. Okay, um, nobody has even donated any money for this major disaster in China, and I'm not surprised, because you know, they remember what happened last time, right? A lot of the money was embezzled. Okay, um, who took it? I think, well, just a lot of the organizer, the politicians, right? Um, but you have to remember, okay, you embezzle the money. Okay, now nobody trusts one another anymore. Next time you have a disaster, okay, um, nobody hardly donated any money, right? Who's to blame? Well, probably the people who organized the fund, right? You know, government officials, right? Were involved in it, right? And I even remember before, I think when China was having some problems, like major disasters, Taiwan would um, come in and help, right? And you have to remember, you know, um, that's that's quite a big commitment, right? Because here you have these people, okay, the Taiwanese people, okay, um, coming all the way from their island into China, you know, volunteering their time, okay, and maybe even risking their life to, you know, help some of these people, right? And you know, with all the talk of Xi Jinping, you know, telling how, you know, he plans to invade Taiwan, right? Taiwan, you know, just doesn't want help anymore, right? Um, and you have to remember, well, you know, uh, I can't say I blame them, just because, well, when you're threatening to, you know, invade their country, right? You know, who in their right mind is going to want to help out their neighboring country, right? So back to the roofing. I've done some roof repairs for some customers before. Um, I've replaced some of the vents up top, like sometimes the vents, just from the wind, sun, rain, ice, right? Um, they just become too brittle, and because they have to remember they're only plastic, right? And depending on the quality of the roofer, what quality he put up there, okay, um, some are, well, they're just not good quality and they crumble away, right? And then you got a major leak on your roof. I replaced those vents um, for some of my customers. Roughly, I hear the roofers charge about $120 each to replace that. And well, a lot of the bigger houses in Surrey, they got about 6 of them, so it costs you around $700, $800 to get done, right? Um, Even some of the shingles, okay, when you have a bad windstorm, sometimes these shingles they blow off, right? Um, then you need to get it fixed. The shingles on the roof, okay, in 2 areas. Um, and I took before and after pictures to show the customer. When I got up there, okay, I found some of the shingles on the roof. They were just kind of like thrown in the gutter, okay. And after when I came down, I was talking to the young man. I guess he was the owner's son, maybe about 19, and I was saying to him, um, whoever, because he told me he had another roofer up there doing the repair, okay, but he had doubts whether or not he actually done it, okay. So when I was up there, I took pictures, okay. I showed him the picture of these new shingles, okay. They're just thrown in the gutter, okay, and no repair was done to the 2 areas that needed it done, okay. He just went up there, he sat up on the roof for, I don't know, maybe 3-4 hours, and then he came down and he said the work is done. So and the work wasn't, okay. So when I was finished the work, I came down. I told him I'll send the pictures to him in the evening, and I told him the other roofer that you had up there to do the work, okay. He didn't do anything. He just he threw the shingles in the gutter, okay, and he said to me, I'm not surprised, because I guess um, maybe he looked at the guy. It looked like he was kind of a derelict a bit, right? And he had doubts whether or not the guy even done the work, okay. But it gives a bad image to um, to the industry, okay, because he paid this guy to do the work, okay, to do the repair work. He didn't do it, okay. He sent me up there, okay. I done the work, okay. I took before and after pictures so he actually could see, yeah, the work was done, okay. Um, I know that there's a lot of guys in the city like this that are doing stuff like that, calling themselves, roofers or repair roofers or, tilers or window installers even, okay, and they can't do the work, okay. They just go in, they do they just do a damn messy job, right? And they expect to get paid for their work, and sometimes the customer has a look and sees they done too sloppy of a job, right? And they're not willing to pay, okay. Because when I was with this one medium-sized company, vinyl window company, this guy's name was Dennis, okay. I felt that he shouldn't have even been a window installer, okay, because he was that sloppy. Every week, okay, I'm serious about this. I would go out one day out of the week and spend almost 8 hours on the job site fixing all the mistakes that he done. Because the customer was refusing to, pay the remaining balance, right? And sometimes, the work was after like one of the jobs was done so sloppy that it got him kicked out of the company. What it was, okay. He he went to this customer's house in Vancouver. Okay. Um, whether it was him or one of his workers. Okay. Normally, you have to put bump-ons on a ladder so you don't scratch the siding up against the customer's home. Okay. And I'm not sure if it was him or one of his workers. I wouldn't be surprised if it was him. Okay. Um, he didn't. He didn't put bump-ons on the ladder. Anyways, the aluminum ladder scratched the new vinyl siding on one side of the house, all the way from one end to the other end. And then he also, one of the windows on the side of the house wasn't supposed to come out. He had cut it, halfway around the window, okay? And he realized it wasn't supposed to come out, and he just caulked it, okay? He didn't tell the customer, okay? Of course, the customer was mad when he found out about that. And you got scratches on the siding that was new, okay, right around the house. Anyways, me and Amrique, we went out to go do the service call. We gave them a free vinyl window for free, okay. I took out the old one, put in the new one, okay. I didn't know what Amrique was doing, okay. He actually had used lacquer thinner to try to wipe off those silver scratches on the vinyl siding. He put it on a paper towel, okay, the lacquer thinner, and then you start wiping it. It came off, okay. Anyways, a few days later, it had literally stripped the paint off the vinyl siding, okay. I didn't know that he had done that. Had I saw him do that, I would have said, no, don't do that. Because I already know how strong the lacquer thinner is. I know it strips paint, okay. Even if I would use a lacquer thinner towel and put it into my pocket, okay, I noticed I would feel a burning up against the side of my leg. It was literally, well, burning the cotton, okay, in my work shorts, and it was burning right into my leg, okay. So I know how powerful it is. So I went back out, I took a look at it, and yeah, it actually looked worse than, well, than the way it looked before. Okay. Manager talked to the customer, said it's okay, we'll replace the vinyl siding. Okay. Just get some quotes. Well, anyways, one quote came in at $5,000. Another one came at $3,000. News got back to the owner. The owner flipped. Said, okay, that's it. I'm gonna get rid of this guy. Okay. That's the last straw. Okay. So they got rid of him, and I thought he was, well, he shouldn't have been, he shouldn't have been an installer anyways, because he was no good at it, okay? When your service guy is going out once a week, spending 8 hours, okay? Working on a house that, you just didn't do a good job on, okay? Because none of the other installers that it was just happening to him, okay? And he was an okay person to talk to, but he was just in the wrong industry, okay? I know that the garden windows, boy, they were pretty expensive. You're talking about $3,000-4,000 just for your standard size garden window, And I was talking to Arnold. I'll just ask him how long it takes for him to build it. It takes him, a day to build it. And I was picking up the material at the building supply place, like the plywood, and then bring it back to the warehouse for him. But when I was there, I know that the garden windows, well, they're selling for about $3,000 to $4,000. And you have to remember, a lot of work went into it, because it would take Arnold at least 8 hours to build it. Okay, a lot of other companies, like the smaller companies, they wouldn't even do the garden windows, because one, they didn't know how to do it. Yeah, that was probably the main reason. Sam and Alice's company, they well, because Sam was so new to the industry, he just didn't have the experience. And you have to remember, okay, he was from overseas, from China, right? Who's going to give him a job, right? Because you have to remember, um, his English was okay, but um, you know, I would say that he was still um, not you know not that good of a fluent speaker. Okay, um, people are just not going to give you opportunity. Okay, especially you don't have any previous experience in this industry, right? Um, maybe if you you spoke fluent English, you had some experience in this industry, right? But he didn't have that, right? And that's where I came in, right? I've worked for some various companies already. Um, Spent 2 years full time, installing these vinyl windows and patio doors. Um, and I knew too that um, that was really valuable too. Okay, because um, a lot of guys out there, they didn't have 2 years experience, installing these vinyl windows and patio doors. Okay, um, there's a lot of other guys that work in different industries, whether it be tiling, carpentry, right? Um, they only maybe do it for 1 month, for example. Okay, and then they start doing something else. Okay, and then they go back doing it for like another month. Okay, and then then they start you know um, maybe looking for an employer, right? And they say they only got 2 months experience, and they say I got 2 years experience. Okay, but the thing is, somebody who's been doing it full time, okay, um, they can tell, whether or not, you know, this guy actually has 2 years experience, or, they're just bullshitting you, they're you to you know. Um, because I remember with my Tyler, okay, um, the grout was just all over the place, okay. Um, if the guy actually had 5 years experience, he's either one of the sloppiest guys in the workers in the city, okay, or two, he just lied to you, okay. I just felt he just lied to me because you know he just everything though he was avoiding a lot of the skilled work, okay. It looked like, yeah, he was struggling, okay, just to put down a single tile, okay. He was only averaging about a little over um, 1 hour per tile, okay. Um, well, no, he was averaging a little bit under 1 tile per hour, because I think he only put in I think about 10 or 12 in 1 8-hour day one time for me, okay. And then I thought to myself, uh, I don't think I want to use this guy anymore. And on the way, when I was driving him to the SkyTrain station, he was just bragging about how good he was, and how he didn't want me to watch him work anymore. Okay, he wanted to work by himself. Okay, so I felt that he knew that, okay, he was lying to me. Okay, he knew that he was struggling with the work. Okay, and yeah, he just didn't want me to watch him work. Okay. Um, I'm not going to leave a worker on the job site by himself with thousands of dollars worth of equipment with them, okay? Being a new worker too, okay? So I just told him, um, I just told him, I don't think you told me the truth that you had 5 years experience. And then he told me, well, back in a text message, okay, we were texting one another. He said that, he just finished a tile job, but, he was lying, okay. Nobody's gonna hire him as a tiler, okay. Maybe as a helper, but not a tiler, okay. Because you know, he was even putting some of the smaller tiles crooked. Okay, so he didn't even have an eye for detail. Okay, um, I still remember I had to install some vinyl windows in North Vancouver. He was on that North Vancouver job. Okay, I got Chris and him to put the drip cap above the window. Okay, anyways, on his side. Okay, he didn't put it on straight. Okay, it was a little bit wavy a bit, so he didn't even have the eye for level. Okay, now if you're a tiler and you don't even have the eye for level, okay, you know, are you even a tiler, right? You know, you don't have an eye for level. Okay, a lot of times when you're putting tiles in, you know, you have to pay close to detail, right? um, you know, you have to have an eye for level. Okay, and you know, even when he was doing the measurements for the uh, you know, measuring for the tile to go around different things, okay, where he had to notch things, I felt he was taking too long. So he didn't know what he was doing. Okay, um, and then even while he was sometimes making some mistakes, sometimes I know that sometimes people make mistakes, but I just felt he was making too many mistakes. Okay, I like to work at the trades. Okay, if you do, well, pick up, you know, a good skill, and you know that, you know, you're a competent worker. Okay, I would say that you know, that's really good. Okay, because there's a lot of guys out there. Okay, they say they're this or that, right? But they're just not good at it, right? I would say that they can't do it professionally, right? I remember seeing this one customer in Richmond. Okay, she'd done her own tile work in her washroom, and I was looking at it. Okay, everything. Well, you have to remember. Okay, when you've been to other washrooms, okay, around the city, whether it be a business, okay, and you're looking at it, okay, you don't see smear marks or grout smear marks. All the tiles look like, okay, they're put on straight. Okay, they're everything's level. Okay, um, you don't see smear marks on them. Okay, when you look at it, it looks good. Okay, anyways, I was looking at her tile job, and yeah, everything looked like it was straight. You know, there was no smear marks on the tiles. You know, it looked like it was professionally done. Okay, even my worker was looking at it too, and you know, he was impressed by it too. You know, he said, "Wow, you know, that looks pretty good." Um, so even this hobbyist um, homeowner, because I was installing their windows and patio doors for them on their house. Okay, and you know, even the hobbyist. Okay, I would say that, you know, she done nicer work than my Tyler, who said he had 5 years experience. Okay, you have to remember. Okay, when I had 2 years experience working as a vinyl window installer, patio door installer, after 2 years, I was really good at it already. Okay, but remember, I was doing it full time. Okay. So, you know, if I see somebody that has what 5 years that says he has 5 years experience, okay, um, you know, I expect them to well, to look like they know what they're doing, right? Um, but yeah, everything, a lot of the things that he was doing, like I questioned him one time, okay, because what was he doing? Okay, he was putting the tile behind the where the oven was supposed to be. Okay, and you know, it looked like he was, well, when he was putting it on, it looked like he was, when he was hitting the tiles. Okay, it looked like he was trying to almost punch his hand through the wall. Okay, and I said to him, I said, man, you know, do you know what you're doing? You know, like, I mean, it looks like you're uh, uh, it looks, you know, it doesn't look like you know what you're doing. You know, um, you know, when I see other people put tiles on wall, stuff like this, you know, I don't see them trying to punch their hand through the wall. Okay, um, So anyways, he got upset a bit, okay, and just saying how, okay, that they didn't know what they were doing, okay. um, but I felt that he didn't know what he was doing, okay. When you put tiles on the wall, no, you don't push it on so hard against the wall that it looks like you're trying to punch your hand through the wall, okay. Because on that day where I used them for my last day too, okay, he was struggling to put one tile, trying to notch it going around some electrical box, okay. He had notched the tile, he was pushing down the tile, he had some grout on it, pushing down with all his weight, okay. What happened to the tile? It cracked in two, okay. So he doesn't even know, he doesn't even know, okay, how hard you can press on the tile without it breaking, okay. And you have to remember, he says he's got 5 years experience, okay. So you don't even know how hard you can press on the tile before it breaks, okay. So I heard him swear after, he broke the tile, and then, you know, I should have just drove him home after that. But I think he kind of knew a bit that, you know, um, he can't let me watch him work, okay? Because he knew that, okay, by letting me watch him work, okay, um, I would see that, yeah, he didn't really know what he was doing, okay, and he didn't want to show that, okay, and he asked to, you know, work by himself. He didn't want to, he didn't want to work with me, okay. When in fact 2 weeks earlier, I had already told him this. I said, if you're going to go out and do tile jobs, okay, we have to do them together, okay. You have to work with the boss, okay. I remember him already saying, um, during, through that time too, that 2 week period, he said, I don't like working with the boss, okay. Yeah, as a worker, if the boss says you have to work with them, and then you say you don't like working with the boss, okay, um, just your employment skills, okay, I would say that they're probably no good, okay. You probably won't get a job um, working anywhere, okay, because you don't know how to act on the job site, okay. Because I felt that, okay, the guy was just a derelict, okay. I don't want to think he was a tiler, okay. He maybe had a little bit of experience, but not enough to do it professionally, okay. Day two, okay, if you do pick up a trade, a skill in the trades, okay, and you're good at it, okay, um, you can go work for some small companies or medium-sized companies, or even, okay, if you're uh, good enough at it, okay, you can even, well, start up your own company, okay, if you have the capital to do that. Another thing too, okay, seeing how I'm self-employed, um, it still takes me time to buy up all these different tools, okay, to buy a truck, to buy a trailer, um, and a lot of tools cost money too, okay. So a lot of guys will not charge cheap for, whatever work they do too, okay, because the tools are expensive, okay. I remember having a neighbor, okay, he had a rental house that he bought, and I done some small jobs for him, okay, before in the past, and he wanted me to do some work on his rental house. I felt that his rental house, boy, it was really run down. Um, and it just seemed like, okay, he didn't really want to buy the materials that he needed to do a proper job. He just kind of like wanted me to slap things together. Um, I wouldn't recommend working for those people because, he was trying to, as one of my workers used to put it, he was trying to nickel and dime me, okay? Um, Explaining that term, nickel and dime, they just, um, they don't want to pay you a fair price for the work, okay? And they want you to cut corners here, cut corners there, when it's not the proper way to do something, okay? So that are, if you feel that they're trying to nickel and dime you, um, I say avoid those people. I don't even do work for them, okay? Um, Worker, customer out in Surrey. He made an addition to his old home, okay, and he wanted vinyl siding. He wants some entrance doors done to the house, okay. He also wanted some doors fixed on his existing house because they weren't installed properly. Maybe he installed it, okay, but the door was bumpy. It wasn't closing properly, okay, and well, he was trying to nickel and dime me. And I just said to him, know what, get somebody else to do the work. I'm not interested. I think he told me he was a handy dart driver. But yeah, I still remember there was this other family, and they were Korean. Okay, looked like they bought at least maybe, I don't know, 20 or 30, even $30,000 worth of material. Okay. And to save money, they thought, we'll just call up some friends and we'll get them to do the work, right? So one of my I was installing the windows on the house, and some of them were coming to talk to me, or my worker, right? And just asking about this or that, right? Because they were unsure about their work, okay? And they found out, okay, one of my workers was a tiler, and I noticed the guy doing the tiling in the washroom, okay. There was a lot of slippage, so the tiles weren't even, okay. And even when they're doing the hardwood floor, you're supposed to space them out a certain way, and it wasn't spaced out properly. The trim going around the hardwood floor, okay, you know how you're supposed to 45 the cuts and caulk the corners, make it look nice and the proper way, right? Anyways, they butt cutted it. They just 90-degree cut it, and butted it up to one another. It looked really ugly, okay. When it probably came time to sell the house, probably the new buyer probably come in and say, who done this shit, right? The tiling was done sloppy. The trim was done, any of the woodwork was done sloppy. The hardwood floor was done sloppy, okay? So, if you're going to spend that sort of money on materials, just get the proper people in to do the work and get it done professionally. Because, like I say, even if you have guests over the house, they use the washroom, okay, or they start looking at the floor, or trim around the room or something like that, right? And they're probably looking at the workmanship, and they're thinking, God, what a sloppy job, and think, who done this work, right? So me and my workers were joking about it. We're just saying how the Koreans don't set their standards very high. But